Raider Nation, it's going to be Memorial Day, and all I want you to do is remember and honor everybody who has served. Myself, Chugs, and Chat Sports. We just want to say thanks to all who served. So I wanted to do this. Wanted to wear the Hellcat Q jersey. Huge shout out to Hellcat Q. Huge shout out to everyone that has ever served, because if it wasn't for all y'all, we wouldn't be able to do what we do here. Raider Nation, I want y'all to show some love right now to the vets. If you know somebody, if you lost somebody, please spam their name down below.
Hey, we appreciate it so much. Everybody who's sacrificed their life, sacrificed their time, sacrificed anything to help us do what we do, help us live in a free country. We 100% appreciate that, and there's nothing more that we can do. There's not enough that we can do to show you how much we appreciate you.
Seriously, so if you guys could take a second, say thank you to everybody out there who served, and just take a minute to remember everyone who lost their lives to help you live the life that you do. I got a lot of family members that have served as well. So from everyone, Hellcat Q, thank you very much. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, Raiders post June 1st trade candidates. We always talk about trade candidates on the show, and a lot of times when I do this segment, people get upset because there's going to be players on this video that, guess what, you might not think are actually going to get dealt. But I'm going to tell you how much money the Raiders would save, why the Raiders would do it, and I'm going to have them ranked from 5 all the way down to 1. To make sure that you never miss anything, get daily Raiders videos on the latest news, rumors. The link is below, and if you're a longtime subscriber, there's a reason why we have over 137,000 subs. Send that link to a Raiders fan and say, hey, go check out these guys. They make awesome content. Let's go right here now to number 5 on my list for post June 1st trade candidates. And today's show is sponsored by NordVPN. It's Malcolm Koonce. And one of the biggest things when you look at trade candidates is this. Would the Raiders actually have a suitor for Koonce? Like, would somebody actually want to trade for him, or would you just end up getting cut? He was selected in round 3 of the 2021 NFL Draft. The other thing that you're going to have to look at for a lot of these players, and for those that watch the show a lot, I like Malcolm Koonce. I think he's actually a good player. Unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for a lot of the dudes on this list, if you're not a McDaniels and you're not a Ziegler guy, they have no ties to you. For that, they can move on. If they move on from Koonce after June 1st, you can save $1.11 million, and you're only going to eat $249K. For the Raiders, that's a simple decision, especially since he played only 6% of the snaps on defense. He had only 9 tackles. Is he an undersized defensive end? Yes. Personally, if I was an NFL team that ran a 3-4 defense, I would make a deal for Malcolm Koonce, because I know Max Crosby's going to make the roster. I know Chandler Jones is going to make the roster. You know that Tyree Wilson's going to make the roster. And then after that, they're probably just going to keep one more edge rusher. So when you think about that, it's like, all right, fair enough. I think they ended up keeping Jordan Willis, a player that they like, or maybe they still add another linebacker, defensive end hybrid. Maybe it's like a Kyle Van Noy. I don't know who exactly it is. But to me, Malcolm Koonce is probably not going to be on this final roster anyway. So with every player that I'm about to bring up, I'm going to tell you how much the trade value is. To me right now, if the Raiders put Malcolm Koonce out there in the trade market, and if a team was willing to give them a 7th round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, they would take it. Hell, they might even take a 7th round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. You can get any value from Malcolm Koonce. I do honestly think that the Raiders will try to do it. So how about this? You guys tell me. I want to know down in the comments section, and this is actually going to be the pinned comment on today's video. For those who don't know what that means, with every video, I pin a comment on YouTube, which means it's the top comment. It's the number 1 comment that I look at that I want you guys to go answer to. So you're going to get hit with the YouTube ad break. While the ad is playing, let it play. It helps me out, believe it or not. Scroll on down and comment a Raiders player who's most likely to be traded after June 1st. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, presented by NordVPN, it's Amik Robertson at number 4. Another player that I like a lot. And I think Malcolm Koonce and Amik Robertson are both dogs. But just like I mentioned with Malcolm, Amik, not a McDaniels, not a Ziegler guy. Selected in round 4 of the 2020 NFL Draft. Kind of crazy to think that he's the only Raiders player still on this team from that entire draft. But if you move on from him, you trade him, you save $1.1 million. The reason why the $1.1 million figure is important for Amik, for Malcolm Koonce, because that's what it costs to get a vet minimum deal. So if you're the Raiders and you're like, all right, Amik's not going to make this team. All right, Malcolm Koonce not going to make this team. I can take that 1.1 and I can potentially invest that into, I don't know, maybe getting a vet that I think fills a bigger team need for this Raiders overall defense, offense, doesn't matter what it is. Robertson, though, 38 tackles, 2 INTs, 9 pass breakups last season. Showed flashes of good. He's also shown some flashes of bad. Undersized corner. I think he's actually done a better job in the NFL on the outside. The problem for him is this. Nate Hobbs can play on the outside. Duke Shelley will play on the outside. David Long Jr., who they signed, he's going to play on the outside. Ja'Cory Bennett, he's going to play on the outside. Tyler Hall, sneaky player. If he ends up playing in the slot for Hall and they absolutely kick out Nate Hobbs, I'm sorry. Amik, I wish you the best of luck wherever you go, but it's not going to be with the Raiders. In terms of the overall trade value for Robertson, I'm going to say, just like I did for Koonce, you would hope to get a 7th-round pick in 2024. You'd hope to at least just get something. And if you can get something, I think that would make McDaniels and Ziegler very happy. Now, guess what? Still got 3 more players to break down here on today's show. But, man, I got to show some love to our brand new sponsor here. Everybody spam NordVPN down in the comments because today's show is presented by NordVPN. NordVPN is striving to make the internet better than it is today. It can be free from online threats, censorship, and surveillance. Get your online security package now by visiting nordvpn.com/RaidersCS. Get 4 months for free by using that link in the description and comment section when you purchase the NordVPN 2-year plan. Anytime I talk about a brand new sponsor, one of the top questions I always get on the show is, all right, well, who are they? What are the benefits? Why should I do it? Well, you get online protection with a single click. And I laugh because my dad is always the type of dude where 1 click, he's fine. You ask that man to do 2 clicks, and you're in trouble. Also, you're not going to miss out on your favorite content, even when you're traveling. You can stay safe from malware, fastest VPN on the planet. And if you're like, all right, those are all things that I need, cool. What about best price for online security? Yes, I always look at best price. NordVPN won't track you or share what you do online. Your data is always protected by next-generation encryption. Get started now. Click the link in the description or comments. That's nordvpn.com/RaidersCS to get 4 months for free of NordVPN and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Any sponsorship I have here, I want you guys to look at it. I want you to think about it. And if it helps protect you and your family, hey, why not go out and do it? Shout out to NordVPN for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to Trevon Moehrig now, number 3. And some of you are like, wow, did not expect to see that one. And, kind of like I've mentioned with Robertson and Koonce, I like Trevon Moehrig, but Moehrig was not very good last season. We got to be able to say the truths on this show. You might like a player, you might root for a player. All these guys that rep this jersey, of course I root for them. 2nd-round pick in 2021. Got a cap hit of $2.2 million. And trading him, you save 1.4, but you end up eating $775K. This is not a player that I would trade. Wouldn't do it. I'm telling you that right now. I would not trade Trevon Moehrig. But he was much worse in the Patrick Graham system than he was the Gus Bradley system. And when you look at the PFF grades here, the overall 54.1. Run defense grade. But what do I want in a free safety? I want somebody that can cover. In today's NFL, if you can't cover, sorry, it's not going to happen. And when he played for TCU, he was the best defensive back of the country. He literally won the award. But he had his struggles. The reason why I wouldn't trade Moehrig away is because, think about you're a rookie. You got to learn a brand new system, Gus Bradley system. Okay, the Gus Bradley system, the Patrick Graham system, very, very different. So now you get an extra year. 3rd year. The 3rd year is usually the year where the guy takes the next step. I personally would give Moehrig the opportunity to prove himself this season. But they drafted Chris Smith in round 5, who they love. They like him a lot. They signed Jaquan Johnson. I don't really think he's that much of a threat. They also like Isaiah Paulomeo because they think that he could play up in the box. What if they wanted to go out and sign a free agent, maybe like a John Johnson, who the Raiders have been absolutely linked to? What if they wanted to bring back Deron Harmon, who was really good in the Patrick Graham system last season? All I'm saying is this: Tre'von Moehrig is not safe. In terms of the overall trade value, I would hope the Raiders would aim to get a 2024 fifth-round pick for him. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to get, because sometimes you're just trying to buy low on certain players that you know aren't going to fit. But there's no reason to move on from Moehrig this early. I'm hoping the McDaniels and Ziegler give him one more year to prove himself. Let's go to number 2 here on my post-June 1st trade candidates, and it's Andre James. And the rankings here are based more on who I think is the most likely to get traded after June 1st. The reason why Andre James makes this list is not because he's not a good player. It's the money that you save. And when you can save $6.5 million and only eat $480, I think Andre James is a good offensive player, right? He's a good offensive lineman. He played 964 snaps at center last season for the Raiders. He's been the main guy, but this is a Gruden guy, not a McDaniels, not a Ziegler guy. And I know that the Raiders could use that $6.5 million and they could invest that on defense. Which personally, if you told me right now you can get Kyle Van Noy and Marcus Peters, or name another 2 free agents at $6.5 million, or keep Andre James, I'm going to take the 2 free agents that I can get on the defensive side of the football. Has he gotten better every single season? Yes, he truly has. 62.8 overall grade. A pass blocking grade's there. The run blocking grade's there. But people can nitpick all they want at McDaniels. They can nitpick all they want at Ziegler. But guess who's the coach that I am the most confident in? It's Carmen Bracillo, the Raiders offensive line coach. And for Dylan Parham, he can play center. Greg Van Roten, he can play center. The Raiders have other players on this roster right now that I can make a legitimate argument would be just as good, if not better, than Andre James. So this is not I don't like James. It's how can I make the Raiders' overall roster better? And to me, I would trade him, but that kind of upsets me because I know he's a good guy. Overall, though, if they were to make this move, I'd say you get a 6th-round pick for him. Yes, he's a good player. The money, though, I don't see many teams out there wanting to pay James $6.5 million, essentially, to have him play center. But when I think about this move, I wonder, because last year I did a competitive burger eating contest against Hankins. Andre James was there, and he kind of looked at me a few times like, I see your videos, man. Well, guess what? From what I understand, Andre James is also going to be at my competitive hot wings eating contest against Jermaine Illuminor. If he gets traded after June 1st, that might change. I don't know necessarily. And Andre, if you watch this, don't hate on me too much. Just doing my job. But if you want to tune in to our live in-person wings eating contest, Jermaine Illuminor versus me, Barcode Burgers, June 10th, Saturday, 5 p.m. is the time. All the proceeds that we get, they're going to go to charity. It's going to be a hell of a time. Chugs is going to be there. Raider Cody's going to be there. From what I understand, I was told Andre James, Colton Miller, Jonathan Hankins. You might find a few other NFL ex-Raiders players there as well. It's going to be a good time. Please save it in your calendar. Hope to see you there. Number 1 coming in here. No surprise. It's Hunter Renfrow. I mean, let's just be real here. Hunter Renfrow, to me, is as good as gone. And if you have a Hunter Renfrow jersey, number 13, I'm sorry. You might as well start looking at a brand new jersey right now. There's been multiple reports out there that teams are going to keep an eye on Renfrow. There were reports out there all the way back in, February that teams are going to keep an eye on Renfrow and Waller. Well, Waller already got traded. And if you can save $11.3 million for a player that, let's face it right now, we all like Renfrow. He's got injury concerns, which we know. He was not used last season. He wasn't. He had 36 catches for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not worth $11.3 million. And then I look at this Raiders offense this season. He's not above Devontae. He's not going to be above Myers. And then overall offense, also Josh Jacobs. So you're telling me your 4th option is making 11. You're giving your 4th option in your offense over $13 million. With the amount of holes that this team has on the defensive side of the football, I would hope that they would trade away Renfrow. They could even just trade him straight up for a player, which is actually where I think they probably would go. So if they don't get a player, though, the overall value that I would aim to get is a 4th-round pick. However, The way that the NFL works, though, is DeAndre Hopkins was just cut by the Arizona Cardinals, right? He's cut by the Arizona Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins is a much better receiver than Hunter Renfrow. No disrespect to Renfrow. It's just the God honest truth. And if they couldn't get anything for him, it might have also been the money. But, you're giving up Hopkins at $19 million for nothing, or Hunter Renfrow at $11.3. I don't know if you're even going to get a fourth-round pick for him at this point. So it's kind of interesting to see where it goes. Before I wrap up the show, though, there are two names that can continuously get thrown out in Raiders trade rumors. Number one, it's Davante Adams. Here's the thing. He's not getting traded. Just say it with me. Davante Adams is not getting traded. Get it through your head. Realize it. It doesn't make sense for Davante. It doesn't make sense for the Raiders financially. So all those, if you see people putting out Davante Adams getting traded shit, just know they have no idea what they're talking about. Davante's not getting traded. The next player not getting traded, Josh Jacobs. I will confidently sit up here and say that it's not going to happen. It doesn't make sense for this entire regime to move on from Jacobs. Every move that they have made offensively has proved to me that this team is trying to win. Josh McDaniels wants to make himself look good. How are you going to make yourself look good? By making sure Josh Jacobs sticks around. The only way, and I mean the only way the Raiders would even consider a Josh Jacobs trade if a team were to be willing to throw in an extra first-round pick. And when I say first-round pick, I'm talking like teams that you think might be in the top 10. Like, I'm not going to take a first-round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? Because they're not going to be in the top 10. So, Josh Jacobs, Davante Adams, they're not getting traded. So before we wrap up today's show, if the Raiders trade Josh Jacobs, I will fill in the blank. I'd go nuts. I honestly, there's a few times where I do these questions, and until it actually happens, or until like you physically go through that mental turmoil, like you don't know what you're going to do. But I want to know. If the Raiders trade Josh Jacobs, you're going to do what? One more time here before we wrap up today's show. If you could take a screenshot of this, also huge shout out to our brand new sponsor again, NordVPN. If you want to get started with them, NordVPN.com/RaidersCS. The link's going to be available for you guys in the comments and in the description of today's video. But take a screenshot, tag me, tag Chugs, hell, tag Chat Sports. Appreciate everyone always tuning in to the Raiders Report.